Today we're going to talk about the differences between opinions and advice. Welcome to the Funeral Strategy and Marketing Show. I'm your host, Robin Heppel. In today's show, we're going to be talking about the differences between opinion and advice. Now, before I get into that topic, I just want to let you know to stick around to the end of the episode because I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favorite free resources that every funeral home could use. And you know what? It saved my butt more than once, probably a dozen times. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, first, let's get back into the topic of today, which is the difference between opinions and advice. And I think this is really important because we get bombarded by people's opinions, people being the do-gooder and, sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. But you know what? Over time, people with their opinions, sometimes others will then start to receive that information as advice. And I really want to separate the difference here because this can help you both when you're bringing in information and also when you're giving information. So I want to share with you a little bit of a story, and probably most of you haven't heard the story before, so it'll be somewhat interesting. Now, most of you know that when I was 18, right out of high school, my head still had my dreams of becoming a professional hockey player in the NHL, being a goalie. I was a goalie, and I had gone out to Ontario to work at a hockey school, and while I was there, I stayed at the funeral home at Egan's in Bolton, Ontario, and Grandpa and Uncle Paul's rule was if you can eat and sleep, you can work. So that's why I worked around the funeral home. But for a few weeks there, I went and worked at the hockey school, and the hockey school was great, and it was just kind of my way of getting to know some people there, and just if there's a chance of getting picked up by a team or just seeing how it worked there. Anyway, the summer was coming to a close, and I'd already had my plans to come and play hockey back in BC, and we're sitting around the dressing room, and we're kind of going around, and guys are saying, like, where are they going to play? And, just different guys are saying, well, I'm going to play here, I'm going to play there, I'm going to college or whatever. And so they get to me, and I say, oh, well, I'm going to play in Fort St. John, BC with Richie Webb. And now we had just finished that previous spring playing in the BC provincial championships, so kind of like the state championships, and we lost. We lost to a team from Burnaby, which is just outside of Vancouver, and we lost to Joe Sakic's team. So you probably know, if you're a hockey fan, Joe Sakic was the captain of the Colorado Avalanche for years and hoisted a few Stanley Cups. And so he scored a couple goals on me. Anyway, not that we're talking about Joe. But so this guy in the dressing room says, you're going to Fort St. John, from little timid Victoria where it's super mild and you don't even have to shovel snow and stuff like that. He goes, Fort St. John is going to eat you up and spit you out, and you don't want to go up there. And you know what I did? I took his advice, or what I thought was advice, and I changed my plane ticket and decided to fly right back to Victoria, and I ended up playing a lower level of junior hockey here and started my apprenticeship at McCall's shortly thereafter that. So now I have absolutely no regrets. I love my life. I love my career. And but things would have been a lot different if I would have gone to Fort St. John. Who knows what had happened. Maybe I would have been ended up still working for Rick Hamry up there at the funeral home, but things would have been different. So, and life just went on. And about 10 years later, myself and three buddies from high school, we all went down to Vegas. And it was actually the U.S. Thanksgiving long weekend. And we got some great deals, and we went down there, and we're sitting around the hotel room, and we'd all gone off in our different directions. I was the only one living in Victoria. A couple of the guys were in Vancouver, and one of the guys was in Toronto. And so we got together, and we're just talking about where we kind of went right out of high school. I don't know how it came up, and we'd all played sports, and I'd probably gone further than the other guys did in their sports. And so they said, well, like, whatever happened? Like, how come, what would have taken to make the NHL? And so I kind of explained the story, what I just told you. And what I found out was, as I'm telling the story, I said, and this guy, said, oh, you don't want to go there. you don't you don't want to go to Fort St. John. And I said, oh, well, this guy, there's this assistant coach. He's from a small like college in Alberta, and he says, well, who was he? Was he? And my friend kept on just hammering me. Was he anyone? Had he made the NHL? Was he an NHL coach or NHL scout? And I said, no. Well, then why'd you take his opinion? And boom, it hit 10 years later. It just hit me. And, from that point on, I've always been cautious of the difference between an opinion and advice. And I took someone's opinion that I thought was advice. And if you look the two terms up in the dictionary, and although they get interchanged quite a bit, there is quite a difference. So the reason why I want to tell you this is that people are impressionable in different parts of their life, or just in a day-to-day basis. Whether it's family members, friends, or coworkers, you're probably getting lots of opinions. What they say, opinions are like a nose. Everyone has one, and you just need to make sure that you filter those, and make sure if you're taking someone's opinion, you take it as such. If you're taking someone's advice, people who may be a bit more qualified to give advice would be someone like a brain surgeon. Now, maybe they haven't gone through brain surgery on themselves, but they've gone through all the training and education that they need to perform that. And hopefully, if you ever need one, you get someone with a great track record. And so I kind of came up with this quote where it is, never take advice from someone who doesn't have what you want, or doesn't have the experience or the education to get you the results that you need. And I really, really live by that. Now, and just to be open, sometimes I'm giving, this could be perceived as advice, or it could be perceived as opinion. And I'm always very careful when I'm writing my articles. I'm not just pulling stuff out of the air. So based on a lot of my experience, now I had the great fortune of, while I was working at McCall's, to, it was a high volume facility. So over my 20 years of working there, I probably embalmed over 500 bodies. I've made over 1,000 arrangements, worked on over 1,000, probably a couple thousand of funerals or services. And also for 10 of those years, I was also at the same time in managing the pre-need department, and wrote over 1,000 contracts. So, and that wasn't enough. I actually then went back to school. I went to Royal Roads, got my business degree in entrepreneurial management, just to kind of round that out. And since that time, I've been studying marketing and strategy, and just you listening to me right now is just some of the results of the marketing that I've done. So now I'm not saying always take my advice, and I'm always very cautious if it's something that people are asking me that I don't have expertise on. I say, you know what, I can give you my opinion, but take it as such. That won't be advice. And so say if you want to get a valuation for your funeral home to see how much the business is worth, I'm not the guy to talk to. There's a few other people within the industry that are super smart on that, and you should go seek them for that advice. But also too, this ends up for you, because when you're in a situation day to day talking to families, you have the opportunity to give advice to people. And you know what it's like, because maybe the families come in from being at hospice, and that the hospice counselor said, oh, you know what, you can save a lot of money. You don't need to have a viewing. Come and view your loved one here and say goodbye here. Or, you don't really need that. You don't need to have a service. You can just have a quiet memorial service. Well, those are just opinions from someone sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. You know what? And I'm not picking on hospice people, but they can give you great advice for that last part of someone's life, and how to interact with the person who's terminally ill, and how to make sure that they're comfortable. That is advice from them, and I would seek that advice from them. I would not seek funeral advice from them, but unfortunately, they give funeral opinions all the time. Also, the nosy, rosy neighbor who always sticks their nose in it and says, oh yeah, you know what, you can save a lot of money by not having a viewing or things like that. So I've even used this rule, this maxim of mine, with families. Now, I'm not blunt about it as blunt I'm being here, but I'll say, you know what, you're going to be, you've got a lot of decisions to make, and we're here to provide you some advice on that. Feel free to bounce any ideas off of us. Lots of people are going to give you their opinions, but everyone's situation is different. And we've dealt with hundreds or thousands of families like you, and we know that we can do the best thing that we can for you and your situation. So just make sure you ask a lot of questions, and we can help you go in the right direction. So just try that because they're getting bombarded by opinions all the time, and we have to be careful that we don't let those opinions override our professional advice that we can give them. So I hope that helps. That's just a little story kind of tying in where I kind of learned this, maybe learned it the hard way, but also how I apply it today and how you can apply it. So think about that, and I'd love to know your thoughts. Now, I'd also just like to keep you up to date on what's happening here at the Funeral Futures headquarters. So we've opened the registration for the Funeral Boot Camp, and it's going to be in September 9th, 10th, and 11th in Cleveland, and it's going to be great. This Funeral Boot Camp is going to be for if you want to supercharge your web presence and your website. And it's not just for funeral home managers and owners. If you have someone looking after that part of your business, looking after your social media, then they're probably the best person from your firm to attend. I've actually got it right here on my whiteboard, just kind of mapping it out. And here are just all the different topics for it's 3 days. So we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, whether it's we're going to be talking about search engine optimization. We're going to be talking about social media, online reputation management, how to get reviews online, and all that. And it's all going to be how do you do it yourself. So we're not selling anything to you. These are going to be the steps, the step-by-steps. I'm going to be sharing a lot of the training that I give my own team for the things that we do for our clients, but just showing you how you can do it yourselves. So, we can't serve everyone, but hopefully we can teach as many people as we can. And the other thing, too, is just doing maybe it's some late spring cleaning, but, I've got hundreds and hundreds of domains with GoDaddy. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to hoard these. I'm not going to use some of these. Some of them I've had for, 5, 6, 7 years, thinking, oh, that'd be a great idea. And you know what I've done lately is I've really honed in our service offerings. So we're solely focusing on marketing for funeral homes and providing education in that area. And obviously with that, there's going to be some strategy as well. But lots of other ideas that I had, you know what, I'm going to put them to rest. So what I've done is I've created a page, and it's on funeralgeeks.com. That's going to be one of the sites that we send you for technology and things like that. Funeral Futurist is going to be more for on the consulting side and kind of my ideas. But at funeralgeeks.com/ domains for sale with hyphens in between, you'll see a link below, and you can just check out some of the domains. Most of them are below the appraised price, so you can just snatch them up if you think you could use it. Great. I don't want to sit on these things anymore, and maybe someone else can who wants to put them in action could use them, and hey, that's awesome. So I'd also like to get your feedback and to see if you have any burning questions about strategy, competition, marketing. Just let me know. Just around this video here, just leave a comment, or at the bottom of at the page on the side, you'll see where it says leave a voice message, and it's called SpeakPipe. It's another free resource that I'll talk about at some time, and you can just leave a recording, and I can either play your question and answer it, or I can just state it. Let me know if you want me to keep your name anonymous or not. No problem there. But I think this will be a great platform for me to answer some of your questions. You can also now my podcast is on iTunes, so feel free to give it a review. 5 stars would be awesome, and you can just do that. You can do it right on your phone too. Now back to my quick tip that I mentioned at the beginning. the free resource that I want to tell you about is Dropbox. Now, Dropbox, probably a lot of you use it now, but some of you may not, and I just want to let you know that it's awesome to use. Dropbox is basically online file storage. So just like you have file folders on your computer, like on your C drive or D drive, Dropbox is like another folder that it's on your computer, but it's also copied into the cloud and it syncs to the cloud. And what I use it for is if I'm creating a presentation, so I might be working on my PC at my desk and create a PowerPoint presentation. I save it to Dropbox, and then when I open up my Mac, it syncs, and that PowerPoint presentation is there, and I can present the presentation. So just in that in itself has been awesome. I used to have to like email myself the presentation or use a thumb drive, and I don't have to do that anymore with Dropbox. Now you can also use it amongst your team. We use it within our team, and what you can do there is just you're sharing a file or you're working on a file together. You're not always emailing the file and then waiting and then getting the person to make their changes and emailing it back. So it's much easier for collaboration. And another use that you could use is for dealing with families. So maybe a family wants to send you all their photos, and you know what it's like where you get like 5 different emails with 5 images each, right? Maybe it's 10, and you got to then download each one. You know what? Show them how to use Dropbox, or ask them if they use Dropbox, and they can. A lot of people do. You'd be surprised. Probably 10%, 20% of the people would probably know how to use Dropbox if they're computer savvy, for sure. And they can just share all those folded files right there. Boom. Once they sync to your computer, you've got them all. You can then give them back a copy of the video right there. Anything that's over 2 or 3 megabytes. Most email programs only allow you to do 5 megabytes, 10 megabytes. If you use Gmail or Google Apps, you can do 25 megabytes, but that's the max. And videos are much more than that. And if someone's sending you 25, 30, 50 images for a video slideshow, that's going to be, they're going to be a megabyte each or more. So, well over 25. So Dropbox, you can just go to Google and go Dropbox, just search Dropbox for funeral homes. And you'll find a video that I created, and you can even just go to make it easy, funeraldropbox.com, and it'll take you there for you to get a free trial, or not even trial, it's free. Now, if you go over the limit, then you have to pay, or you start referring people, and you build up your capacity that way. So you can, the more you share it, the more space you get. So that's Dropbox. Just search for Dropbox for funeral homes on Google, and you'll find my video about that. Now, I just want to leave you with just my little challenge. So my challenge today, it's pretty simple. Just beware of the information that comes into you in the forms of opinions or advice, and also the information that comes out of you. And are you just giving an opinion, or are you giving it advice? And just be careful that you know the difference between the two, both inward and outward. And just see how many times it does it, and see how many times people want to bestow what they think is advice, but really it's just their opinion. And, if you're going to accept it, make sure that, if someone's going to give you an opinion on a restaurant, that's okay. But if they're going to give you some opinion on something that could be life-changing, then I think I'd shop around for a bit better advice. Anyway, that's just my thought. Once again, thanks for spending time with me here. I'm really enjoying this. My goal for you is for you to serve more families so that then they can experience better funerals. And if you can do that, then I'm doing my job. So make sure you check back soon for another episode of the Funeral Strategy and Marketing Show. This is Robin Heppel.